Well, hey, good morning and welcome to the BlueGamer Bluecast morning show. It is April 11th, 2024. I am Adam Blue, professional video game enjoyer. I'll be using the next 20 to, 30 minutes to talk video games first thing in the morning. So I'm kind of recovering from that just waking up thing that happens. Wouldn't it be cool if waking up felt like eating a pizza or something more? No, so yeah, we're going to talk about what I've gotten into the past day and then the latest news. I've noticed, in the mornings, usually it seems like the morning is when the news comes out. Usually the breaking stuff is throughout the day. If there's anything ever breaking that's crazy, I'll make sure to cover it the following day. But to start off, what I've been doing, there wasn't too much I actually did yesterday gaming-wise. It was a lot of continuing to finish my configuration of the my Android retro console or handheld, not retro because they could do modern stuff. Handheld console. I got a case for the phone that allows it to fit perfectly within this, and it makes it a lot more sturdy. Anyway, the main thing with that is it's reminding me how complicated this type of stuff is to do. And I think a lot of people need help out there. And I kind of want to make more videos about it. We'll see. Because working with the community out there, there's a lot of stuff that people are still trying to figure out. I think there's a way to have a better overall experience of getting kind of that true, I look at Game Pass or, Xbox, where you have your online, you can play on Xbox, you can play on PC, you have your saves, your achievements. They're almost getting there with the entire back catalog of games that exist. There's the Retro Achievements website. There's, the sync thing with the cloud save. So I know I've been talking about that a whole lot, but I've still been working on that. The only other thing I got into yesterday, and it wasn't really too much, is, with Helldivers out, Helldivers 2, and it's such an excellent game, it made me feel bad about that Starship Troopers Extermination first-person shooter that, man, if you compare the two in terms of their technical feats, Helldivers 2 is just the better looking game all around. I mean, the thing with the Starship Troopers is I think there's more enemies on screen and there's also more allies on screen. You can have 16 players, so I think it's still a different type of game. Also, within the Starship Troopers game, there's a lot of building you have to do, and that's not in Helldivers 2. So anyway, like I said, I loaded the game up and then some family stuff happened where I had to, go help out and do some things. Just normal kid stuff, but I didn't really get to play it, but I want to jump into it because they redid the class system. So they wiped all the XP, they redid the class system, the progression system. So I'm interested in jumping back into Starship Troopers. I'm sure they have to learn a thing or two from Helldivers 2, right? I would think that's how it happens, right? So Helldivers 2 comes out, and this company that's making the Starship Troopers Extermination are like, okay, that game feels like Starship Troopers. What are they doing that we can incorporate into the game we already have? Because they're kind of different games. Starship Troopers is more large scale, and there's a lot more AI, or not AI, but actual player teammates. So I can understand the difference between the two. But that's really it. I think let's jump into the news actually and see what's going on, because I didn't have too much else going on yesterday personally when it comes to gaming. Hey Mitch, good to see you in the chat there. Yeah, have a good day to you, man. Okay. Let's look at the screen share here with my feeds of reputable video game websites. So let's see. Immortals of Avium Studio has reportedly furloughed the majority of its staff. So Immortals of Avium was a first-person shooter game made by EA, published by EA, which is very interesting because it didn't seem like something EA would jump onto, but wow, excuse me for that. But the game looked cool. I don't think there was enough to really get people to be like, oh, let's play this game. Back in the day when there were less games coming out, there were more chances of people to play some wacky, crazy games they never would have. This thing, I think, got left by the wayside just because at the time it came out, it's just a fantasy FPS. There's not many of those, which you would think is a good thing, but I guess people weren't really asking for it. I'd like to try that. But anyway, when it comes to laying off, especially in the video game industry, a lot of it has to do with when a game is done and maybe there's some support afterwards that's done, then they do let people go. It's kind of the thing that happens. So let's see what it says here. Immortals of AVM developer Ascendant Studios has reportedly furloughed the majority of its staff. That's according to a LinkedIn post by former employee Chris Mornis, which has been corroborated by Polygon reporter Nicole Carpenter. Ascendant Studios has furloughed the majority of their staff, said Mornis, who left the studio last summer to join Phoenix Labs. I can't imagine what that would be like, as that is worse than getting laid off. Furlough is an imposed leave of absence from work, which is typically unpaid. While employees technically keep their jobs and are expected to return to work at some point, it means they don't qualify for things like severance pay. Carpenter said, this lines up with what I've heard at Immortals of AVM developer Ascendant Studios, that a large portion of the staff was recently furloughed. Haven't been able to confirm numbers, and Ascendant hasn't responded to multiple requests for comment, she added. The studios... Okay, so that's very interesting. So they had already laid off half their staff, now they're furloughing, but I guess the idea is, look, you have your job, we just don't have any work we can pay you for right now. Ooh, saucy nuggets, not. So that's an interesting thing here, because the idea is you don't have to work, but you're still with the company, depending on what's in the contract, what's allowed or disallowed. Depending on the skill set these people have, they could be doing some side work or some independent work or something until... I mean, I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm just trying to think, what's a silver lining out of all this? Because I think I was just talking about it yesterday, the day before, how, yeah, there was this old school publisher, or this guy that wasn't... He was like more of a product manager, less than a publisher, just making sure the game gets pushed out right. And he was just saying that the video game industry doesn't work like Hollywood, where there's always work lined up for people. It's like these companies plan for when a project ends, let's start a new one so they can have work. But I really think with Ascendant Studios, it's bad timing. By the time the game came out, the whole industry had changed. And people care less about this stuff. It is what it is. I'm sure Command & Conquer Storms March's European sales chart after Steam release. That's interesting. So this is April 11th still. I know that they originally, it was like a month ago that they released all those games. Okay, in March. So it is saying in March. Yeah, okay. So that's really cool. I hope this tells EA something. They own the Command & Conquer license. They've worked with Petroglyph. They did the CNC remaster, and they were working on another Command & Conquer game, not Petroglyph, I don't think, another company, and then that got canceled. Oh, and then they announced it's some mobile Command & Conquer coming out or something. Anyway, that's really cool to see, like, Helldivers 2, Dragon's Dogma, Command & Conquer in the top 5. It's crazy that Rainbow Six Siege is still up there. I can't believe how popular. Oh, and then look at that, like, all the Command & Conquers are in the top 10. I hope this tells EA, like, make another Command & Conquer. Make it cheesy and campy like the original. Give it that personality other than, the units. Because I feel like with RTSs, they get stale because they are sort of the same thing. Like, Petroglyph just came out with their 11-bit armies after their 8-bit or 9-bit army, or 8-bit armies, and then I forget what this other one's called. But anyway, it's a Command & Conquer game, straight up Command & Conquer game. And it's got a really cool campaign where, like, you have this world map and you go to do objectives on each area. And each area, if you do all the objectives, you get all the unlocks. But let's say you don't get all the objectives, you just get some unlocks that you can then use, like units and buildings for the missions. So the single player nature, the campaign nature of the game is to try to optimize each mission so that you can get unlocks that then you can use on later missions. It's a really cool system. I need to play it some more because I had played it and then I think I stopped when Dragon's Dogma came out. Anyway, just cool to see Command & Conquer, all these Command & Conquers in the top 10. They need to make a new one. They do for sure. Okay, let's see. All Apex Legends players offered free Apex packs following account issues. That's kind of typical. Games having some online issues and giving people stuff. I don't play it. I have before. It's pretty cool. Okay, Ubisoft, if there is no value in Gen AI for creatives, it is not going to be adopted. That's a very interesting take because there is value in generative AI. I'm afraid this would be too long of an article for me to read right now. So that could be what it is. It's more of an editorial on how in the games industry they're seeing creatives utilize AI versus maybe how the publishers are expecting AI to be used. But it's still, the terminology is still crazy because like AI has been used. The generative AI is something that's been part of gaming for a while. Helldivers 2 uses that for its maps. So when they're saying generative AI, I'm gonna have to dive more into this article to really see what they're talking about. Because yeah, AI being pushed by executives and publishers in a way that doesn't make sense. It's more of how they're trying to save money. That's the issue. But a lot of games do use, I mean, you need to use AI to a degree nowadays to kind of, so in my full-time job, my main job, I've been in a lot of meetings lately that are about adopting AI technologies, and it's very practical the way they're going forward. I mean, this stuff does work if you do it in a practical way. And it's never really about revolutionizing a product. It's more about reducing work stress, reducing time it takes to do some things. Like, you still need the person there, but if you're working alongside an AI, it could, and that's the generative AI. So generative AI in games, meaning a developer can quickly get a map out there for a player to play on, and it's different every time, that sort of thing. Yeah, and even Command & Conquer Red Alert had that, where it had that random map maker, where you just go and generate a map. That stuff's been around. Anyway, I don't know what they're really trying to get at this article because it's very long, but it's less of a news item and more of a editorial. EA Motive was reportedly hoping to make a brand new Dead Space game. Yeah, because apparently there was a Dead Space 2 rumored, and then they're saying no, that wasn't true, but I think it was because if the Dead Space game itself would sell well, the remake, they would remake the second. Or make a new one depending on how well it did, and I guess that's not going to happen. They had him go to Battlefield. I think the Dead Space numbers just didn't do well, but I really think it's in the best interest of EA, and this is where developers mess up sometimes. Hollywood messes up. DCEU is a good example. It's like one thing doesn't work out, and they're like, let's scrap our plans. When, no, sometimes the first thing is that first step into something larger. To me, Dead Space is EA's answer to the Resident Evil franchise, having that survival horror with a little bit of action, or a lot of action. They need to, I think EA needs to double down on Dead Space, have this as their kind of premier horror IP. Make it where every 3 years there's a Dead Space. There should be a Dead Space 7 by now. Not really, but maybe a 4. Actually, they did 3, so no, there should be a 5 or 6 by now. I really think they need to double down on this. I mean, it's working for Capcom, people like horror. Yeah. Okay, again with the Command & Conquer stuff, so that's good news. Vampire Survivors, PlayStation release, and Contra-themed DLC announced. So, Vampire Survivors, if you haven't played it, it's that survival genre, and not the survival in the crafting sense, but more of it's just about waves and waves of enemies. There was I think a name I was throwing around before to describe these games. Anyway, what's interesting is when you play Vampire Survivors, it actually seems like it's Castlevania because of the weapons, the enemies. I think a whip is one of the starting weapons. And, Konami's been on a roll working with companies and indie releases. Like, Konami is smart when sometimes it's like, are they? And I wonder if Konami right now is just, they have just been in a place where they're like, look, games obviously don't make money. Look at all of these other people that are losing jobs, games getting canceled. And from what I understand, Konami has been increasing salaries year over year for their employees. So in a time when we were talking crap about Konami not doing anything with their IP, it's like they kind of are, and they're playing it safe until the next moment comes that they can come up with a big AAA game. So within Vampire Survivors, that's like a Castlevania-looking game, even though it plays differently. Konami's added Contra-themed DLC. So it's shooting, it kind of changes sort of the genre that's going on in terms of the fiction, because now you have Instead of like the medieval and sort of fantasy vampire stuff, now you have guns, which is fine. And it's just interesting that they didn't just go with a Castlevania style thing when they did Castlevania for Dead Cells, which is another indie game. But the Castlevania is going to be on V Rising, which makes sense. That's a vampire themed game. I just think it's crazy that, and they'll have to have some Castlevania stuff coming on in here. I think it's weird, especially when they're having the Dead Cells developers then make a Prince of Persia game. It's weird what, like, I feel like there's better fits for certain developers, or IP, yet these companies are going in different directions, which could be a part of switching things up, changing things up. Yeah, just like I was talking about, Prince of Persia roguelite from Dead Cells Studio, Evil Empire has been announced. That was rumored, so I guess this is the announcement then. And it looked pretty cool. It had, because there was that Triple I initiative, the independent games thing yesterday, and they were showing off this Prince of Persia. And it hits early access next month. I think it's strange how close together they have these Prince of Persia releases. Although I would think by now most people are done with the Lost Crown, I think it was called, to then move on to another one. So maybe it's these smaller budgeted games, but within the same IP that kind of keep people sticky with the Ubisoft platform. That could be their play here. So Pocket Pair teases Pal World Arena PvP mode. Okay. PvP is always a good thing, I guess. If you're already doing PvE, might as well add some PvP. Slay the Spire 2 announced for... Oh, wait. And you know what? That's another thing. Isn't this like Pokemon, so you're capturing these animals to fight anyway? Yeah. Yeah, that looks like Pokemon. Slay the Spire 2 announced for PC to launch in 2025 in early access. Yeah, that first one is really popular. Some more of the Prince of Persia. Chia headed to Switch. So that's a game that came out on PlayStation that's a fun, like, relaxing, chill, cozy, open world Breath of the Wild like. And I think because it's almost too chill and simple, I kind of bounced off of it, but I liked what was going on. There's a lot of different things happening when it comes to traversal and like moving around on the map that's done pretty well. Yeah, I hope to see that game do a lot better. It's really cool. Undermine 2 announced for PC. What is Undermine 2? Oh, it's just like a game with mining? I can't say I even heard of the first one. I mean, I like the graphic style and the hectic nature of everything going on. Grappling hook? Okay, that looks pretty cool, actually. I'll have to keep my eyes out for that. Okay, let's see what else is going on here. Never Alone 2. So I think there's going to be a lot of those indie games, which, hey, nothing against indie games. I think that's what a lot of this news is going to be. Kill Knight. Isometric action shooter. That sounds pretty neat. 3D platformer. RKGK Rakugaki. Wow, what a mouthful. Announced for PC. So that's pretty cool. 3D platformer. Yeah, this is one of those indie games. EA Play subscription price being hiked by 80% in some regions. Interesting. So I feel that's inevitable, but how long can each of these individual companies just keep a subscription service going? Because if we look at, the streaming platform holders like HBO Max, Disney Plus, et cetera, they're purposely piecemealing their stuff off to other services. But I guess that is what these video game companies have been doing from the beginning. You can get EA games on Game Pass. You could get Ubisoft games on different services. Ubisoft has other games on their services. So I feel like what the video game industry has done differently here than what Hollywood, or it's not Hollywood, it's not streaming services, but it's these content creation corporations. I don't know. They wanted everything on their own little system, and that didn't work. And I think that even speaks more to PlayStation and Xbox too, because even Xbox is like, look, we want to have our stuff on everything, and PlayStation is not. So the more you look into this stuff and see the actions between like movie studios, production companies, and video game publishers, you can see where both the video game industry and Hollywood has kind of seen this little economic issue. But I think a lot of the platform holders, most of the video game platform holders, Ubisoft, Xbox, EA, they're smart about what they need to do moving forward. PlayStation, Sony hasn't figured that out yet. I wonder what they're going to do. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. So, like, if you're a Disney fan, then wouldn't you be upset that your Disney shows are now going to be on other platforms? That's like if you're an Xbox fan and you're mad that an Xbox game is going on another platform. It's like, this is inevitable. This is just how it's going to be. You're still going to be able to play those games, and they're still going to be championed by the platform holder. It's interesting how we were seeing these people that are like Xbox fans, like how they reacted to what Xbox plans are, when really that's what the plans across the whole industry are. And that's the way Hollywood and movie, TV stuff is able to survive, by making it widely available. It's just like when Microsoft first came out with DOS and they made it available on any platform, any hardware that could support it. Anyway, moving on. So a lot of the same stuff, V Rising, Legacy, Castlevania, crossover we were talking about. The Rogue Prince of Persia reveal, and there's a screenshot there. It looks cool, actually. Like, it does look good. But I don't know if I care. So a lot of the same news being shown. I guess there wasn't anything too crazy other than that Triple I indie initiative. That's about it. Yeah. So not too much with news that's anything crazy. And then, yeah, for me, the gaming I did, I think for like tonight too, after work when I want to like play around, I'm probably gonna mess around with this a little more. I want to make a guide for it because it's really hard to understand and grasp all the things you need to do on Android to get everything up and running. And while it's so much easier to get things up and running on a thing like this, some of the main quality of life features like syncing just goes down. Like, this will work and then it'll stop working. It's so annoying. And then so with later today at, is it 4 Central? 4 Central, I'll have the Gundam Explained show. That's going to be on my Gundam Explained YouTube channel. That will be with Steven of Midnight Hatter, which yesterday on Wednesdays we do the live stream on his channel. So check that out and check the Gundam Explained show out later today if you're interested. And I'm trying to think anything else. No, I think that's really about it. Yeah, kind of short and sweet. Hopefully there'll be more exciting stuff happening so that there's more to talk about. But I hope everyone has a good morning, and we will talk tomorrow. See ya.